The Miami Dolphins might have made some key moves this offseason, but let's be real, the job isn't done. Tight end is still a major concern. Yes, Darren Waller was added, but let's not pretend that fixes everything. He hasn't played a snap in over a year. He was retired, and there's no guarantee he even makes the final 53-man roster. If you're banking on him being the same guy who lit it up 5 seasons ago, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And after Jonnu Smith's departure, the depth behind Waller, it just doesn't cut it. Not for a team that wants to compete deep into January. If Miami is serious about contending, not just making the playoffs but making real noise once they get there, they have to bring in another tight end. Before we dive into the 5 tight end targets the Dolphins should pursue before training camp, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a single update on your Miami Dolphins. Let's get into it. Today, we're breaking down 5 tight end trade targets that actually make sense for Miami. These aren't just random names. They're ranked 1 through 5, based on a recent list from CBS Sports. And we're going to look at each player, evaluate how they'd fit in Miami's system, and whether Chris Grier could realistically pull off a trade before camp kicks off. Let's start with number 5 and work our way up. Let's start with the name that's been floating around since the Dolphins traded away Jonnu Smith, Cole Kmet, tight end for the Chicago Bears. This one caught fire quickly, and for good reason. After Chicago spent a first-round pick on tight end Colston Loveland, speculation began. Is Kmet available? Well, here's what I've learned. A source with direct ties to the Bears organization told me that Miami actually picked up the phone. Right after the Jonnu Smith trade, the Dolphins reached out to see if Kmet was available. That's not a rumor. That's real. And if it had worked out, he would have been a perfect fit. Kmet isn't some flashy 1,000-yard weapon, but he brings something Miami desperately needs: balance. He blocks well, he runs crisp routes, and he can be counted on in key situations. He showed that during strong 2022 and 2023 seasons with Justin Fields, even if things didn't fully click with Caleb Williams this past year. But here's the catch. The Bears aren't ready to move him. Despite drafting Loveland, Chicago told Miami no when the inquiry came in. They've got plans to use both tight ends together. And with Loveland missing Otis and minicamp due to a lingering injury from his Michigan days, the Bears are playing it safe. Bottom line, Kmet isn't available. At least not right now. But remember, in the NFL, not available in June doesn't always mean not available in August. Keep your eyes on this one. Let's talk about one of the biggest names floating around the trade rumor mill, Mark Andrews. It's been widely speculated that the Ravens could move him. And honestly, I think there's real smoke here. Andrews is coming off a tough 2024 season, highlighted by a couple of crucial drops in that playoff game against Buffalo, including a missed 2-point conversion that could have tied things up late in the fourth quarter. Make no mistake, Mark Andrews is a Ravens legend, one of the best to ever do it in Baltimore. And for most of the last 6 years, he's been one of the top tight ends in the league. But here's the deal. He's 29 years old. His contract is nearing its end. And Isaiah Likely is on the rise, a younger, more dynamic option that's making waves in Baltimore's offense. That makes Andrews a prime trade candidate. But here's where I pump the brakes for Miami. Yes, he brings name value, but the price tag is steep, possibly in the $10 to $15 million range. That's a lot to take on, especially for a veteran nearing the twilight of his prime. If the Dolphins are going to make a move, they should target someone younger, someone with room to grow into the system, not someone who may already be on the back end of their peak. If we're talking about building something sustainable in Miami, a Cole Kmet type profile makes more sense. Someone in their mid-20s with several high-ceiling years ahead. That's why, personally, I'd pass on Mark Andrews. Now, the next guy on this list, he fits that younger, high-upside mold. Let's talk about Chigoziem Okonkwo from Tennessee. Let's talk about a name that doesn't carry superstar buzz, but might be the smartest move Miami could make Chigoziem Okonkwo, entering the final year of his rookie contract with the Tennessee Titans. No, his stats won't light up the screen. He's not going to wow you with highlight reels. But when you look at fit, upside, and affordability, Okonkwo checks every box. He brings a rare blend of size and athleticism, traits that could thrive under Mike McDaniel's creative offense. Think about the things Jonnu Smith did well. Speed, yards after catch, mismatches in space. That's the type of player Okonkwo can become in Miami. And here's why this trade makes even more sense. Tennessee just drafted Gunnar Helm, a potential long-term option at tight end. Okonkwo is on the last year of his deal, meaning the Titans may want to get value now before letting him walk. His trade cost is low, likely a 4th or 5th round pick. That's what we call a buy low, high upside scenario. And if Chris Grier makes this move, Miami wouldn't just be getting depth. They'd be adding a young, moldable weapon who could grow in the system for years. And with a potential extension, he could be a long-term solution, not just a one-year rental. Bottom line, this feels like a home run move. The price is manageable, the upside is real, and he fits exactly what this offense needs. Let's see if Tennessee answers the call. Let's shift focus to Michael Mayer, a player who's quietly remained linked to the Miami Dolphins. Now, officially, a Las Vegas beat reporter claimed the Raiders have no interest in trading Mayer and want to pair him with rookie Brock Bowers as a dynamic 1-2 punch. That sounds great on paper, but the buzz around Mayer being quietly available has never fully gone away. And here's the twist. Miami has a real history with this guy. When Mayer came out of Notre Dame, the Dolphins had legit interest during the draft process. That's not speculation. Multiple respected Dolphins reporters have confirmed that Miami was high on Mayer coming out of college. Add in recent chatter from team insiders, and it's clear. If Mayer ever became available, Miami would absolutely pick up the phone. So why might Vegas actually consider moving him? Mayer's second NFL season was rough. He missed 6 games due to personal reasons and never really found rhythm on the field. Meanwhile, Brock Bowers exploded onto the scene, looking every bit like the future TE1 in that offense. Mayer's value is still high, but if the Raiders want to fully commit to Bowers, this could be their chance to move Mayer while he still commands a respectable return. Now let's talk fit. Mayer isn't your typical Dolphins-style tight end. He's not as dynamic after the catch as guys like Jonnu Smith or Chigoziem Okonkwo, and he doesn't bring that same burst or open field threat. But what he does bring: size, strength, physicality. He's a punishing blocker. He's tough in contested catches. And he's a red zone weapon, something Miami hasn't consistently had at tight end. He may not light it up with 50-yard catches, but in short yardage and goal line situations, he'd add real value. If the Raiders do open the door, don't be surprised if Miami takes a serious look. Let's wrap up with a veteran name: Tyler Higbee, longtime tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. At 32 years old, Higbee's time in LA seems to be winding down. Injuries sidelined him for most of last season, and even when he played, the flashes just weren't there. He's not the same impact player he once was in the early 2020s. Now, would this be a cheap deal for Miami? Absolutely. This would be a classic buy low move, something like a late day 3-pick swap. Maybe a 6th rounder for Higbee and a 7th. Minimal cost. But here's the problem. Even though he might walk in as Miami's most experienced tight end, that doesn't mean it's the right move. You're talking about an aging, banged up player with declining production. And if this team is serious about building for both now and the future, Tyler Higbee just doesn't fit the plan. So let's be honest. This one's a hard pass. Final verdict. WHO should the Dolphins trade for? We looked at 5 realistic tight end trade targets. And while some carry big names, there's only one player that checks every box: age, scheme fit, affordability, long-term potential. Chigoziem Okonkwo is the one. He has the traits that remind you of Jonnu Smith: explosive after the catch, great in space, tough to bring down, and still just entering his prime. Sure, Cole Kmet may be the most complete tight end on the list, but Chicago doesn't seem ready to move him. Okonkwo? He's young, he's available, and he's a perfect fit for Mike McDaniel's offense. If I'm Chris Grier, I'm making that call to Tennessee right now.